Hi friends, welcome to our channel. For those of you who don't know me, I am Madi. I'm the Regional Youth Coordinator for the South here in the Episcopal Diocese of West Missouri. Hope everyone's staying home and staying safe. As you guys know, this week is Holy Week. It's my favorite week of the year, but in our current situation, it's looking a little different this year. We've had to change everything to sort of online in order to keep this social distancing thing going. So we hoped you guys might enjoy being able to do a craft from home. I had to challenge myself to figure out a way to do this craft from home with limited supplies, because not everybody has a crafting problem like I do and has beads lying around. So without further ado, I'm going to show you guys what supplies you need to make our lovely Anglican prayer beads. Okay? Okay guys, so to make Anglican prayer beads, we are going to be making paper beads. So the first thing you're going to need is some paper. So this is actually what I used to make the ones here. I had 4 sheets of paper that I decorated. Used markers on it. You can use crayons or colored pencils. You can do any designs. You can also use notebook paper. Just some graph paper I found. If you use that, you may want to decorate it as well. If you happen to have any coloring books lying around that you've colored in, they're just kind of hanging out, you can totally use those as well. You can use newspaper or magazines, or I swiped one of my mom's old catalogs and used that to make a couple of beads as well. You can use construction paper if you happen to have any of that laying around, or colored printer paper. And then if for some reason you don't have that, you can also use like brown paper sacks. You could use old assignments that you're not using anymore. You could even use wrapping paper. So I'll show you later on how you can make, I have some silver sparkle wrapping paper. You can make beads with wrapping paper as well. You're going to need about 4 sheets of paper. You're not going to use all of it. You might use all of it. It depends on how wide you make your beads. I used probably 3 pages, but I did 4 different designs, and so I needed all of those. So yeah, 4 sheets of paper just to be safe, depending on how wide you make your beads, and because you've got to make your cross out of that as well. If you don't use regular sheets of paper, say you're using a paper sack or using wrapping paper, make sure you've got about enough to do that. So the next thing you're going to need is, of course, some scissors. Right here. Scissors. Nice scissors. You can use kitchen scissors. These are my actual nice scissors that I use for crafting. Yeah, scissors. I'm going to cut with. Then, you're also going to need some glue. So, the one that I use to make mine is actually Mod Podge, because it's the craft amazingness of Mod Podge. No, but what it does is it seals it pretty well, and so it actually makes them a little bit more durable. If you use Mod Podge, you're going to need a paintbrush. You could use your fingers, it's going to get real messy. So you're going to want a paintbrush for that. You could also use some Elmer's glue, classic school glue. Again, it's easier to put this on with a brush, or you just smear it around a bit, but it works very well as well. You can also just use glue sticks. You'll see me using this for some of it as well, just because it's a lot faster, dries faster, goes quicker. And then if for some reason you don't have any glue in your house, you can also use Scotch tape. You would want to tear it into smaller pieces to use. You can use masking or painter's tape if for some reason you don't have those. Just remember that your beads will become the color of whatever the tape is. You can use duct tape even, if you have some cool duct tapes. Or you can use washi tapes. And so if you're using this, I would just use plain computer paper, because as you can see, there's all sorts of fun designs you can do. So that's another option. Then of course, you're also going to need something to string the beads on. So for that, we're going to need some string. So there's several different things you can use. I used yarn because I have a problem and have a lot of this laying around. You can also use some string like embroidery floss, or the string you use to make friendship bracelets. You can use thread. If you use the thread, I would recommend using a couple of pieces of string together to make it a little bit stronger. You can also, if for some reason you don't have that, you could use like a shoelace, piece of ribbon. If you have any old power cords lying around that don't work anymore, you can use those. You'll just, of course, cut off the ends to make sure it's the one that doesn't actually work and that you're not planning on using anymore. You can also use, I've got some cording here, just about anything that's string-like. If for some reason you don't have any string at home, you can also use a plastic bag. And to do that, you simply take it and you cut it off the side here along the handle so you get the most length out of it. So you would cut it right here, straight across, and then you're gonna cut this little seam here at the bottom off, but don't cut this part here. So then you end up with a piece like this, doubled. And then you're gonna take it and you're gonna cut it into thirds, and then you're gonna braid those together to make your string. So if you don't have string, you can make string with plastic bag, and then hey, you're upcycling. So those are the things you're gonna need. If you're using plain paper and you want to decorate it, you're gonna need some markers or crayons or something like that. But yeah, those are your basic supplies. It's really not gonna take too much, and you can find most of this around your house. Okay, so important note is it's gonna depend on which direction you're cutting and rolling the paper. Is going to depend on where your pattern goes. So for some of them, we're going to cut them going up and down, and some will go across. And so as you can see here, that's going to change the way you do it. So if we were to cut these this direction, they're going to be solid colors. If we were to do it and cut them the long way, you're going to get a little bit of each color in there when you taper them. So if you cut them in a straight line, you're not going to get that. But if you cut them at an angle, you're going to get that tapered design. And so you really have to think about which direction you're going to be cutting the paper to get the patterns whenever you go to color them and decorate them. So just a fun tip. I want to apologize. I'm having to do this as a voiceover right now because, well, apparently my audio didn't all record. Yay, me. Okay, so let's get started. So what you're going to see is me cutting the paper. So for your weak beads, you're going to want to go the first direction and then the long direction for the beads like your cruciform and your inventory. So you can also double them up if you choose, and I'll show you how I'm doing that later. Right here, I'm talking about how long you want them to be and showing you that each of these little squares on here is an inch on my board. You're going to want to cut somewhere between 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches. Depends on how wide you want your beads and how much string you have. If you're limited on your string, you're going to want to really make sure that you're not cutting it too wide, because then you're not going to be able to fit it all on there. So as you can see here, I've cut it at an angle. You're going to want to do that if you're going to want to see all the colors. Looking for my pencil because I'm a mess and I lose everything. Oh, and the tape was right there the whole time. That was the other thing. Anywho, so this is going to be what I'm going to show you how to do it with the Scotch tape. All you do is you take your item that you're wrapping stuff around and you roll it around from the wider end to the narrower end so you can get the full pattern. I'm just doing a lot of talking right now. I don't even know what I was talking about. I'm a little delusional. It was late at night and I was probably talking about absolutely nothing important, as you can tell. So you wrap it around the pencil nice and tight. Not so tight you can't get it off, but tight enough that you will be able to get it off. This is me explaining how to do it with the glue stick as you go. I'll show you that again later. I really just need to get this thing wrapped. It's really kind of driving me crazy that I didn't wrap this faster and I spent so much time talking, but it's okay. We're gonna get it wrapped. Once you do get it wrapped, then you're gonna take your little piece of tape and hold it down unless you've been gluing it the whole time. So here we go. Yeah, that was way too big of a piece of tape. So don't do as I did just there, but it was mostly to show. Okay, so then once you get it done, as you can see, it's rolled up on the pencil, nice and neat. And you can see all those colors from that rainbow I colored on that page. So then, and that's from going the long direction. And so then what you would do is you're gonna slide that off of the pencil when you're done and move on and do the next one. So as you can see here, I'm cutting another one, and on this one I'm going to show you how you do it with the glue stick. I also did a bit more of a wave to this one just to kind of show you what that one's going to look like. There's all sorts of different ways you can cut these. I'll put a link in the description with some different ways that you can do different styles of beads if you're interested. But really the taper is the easiest one to do, and it's kind of got some of the coolest effects. So as you can see here, when you start rolling it, you don't want to put glue on there because you don't want it to get stuck. I tried putting a little bit here on this outer side, and honestly it just ended up being a bit of a sticky mess. So really the best way to do it is about an inch down from the first start of the end. So we're going to put some glue down. So then that way when you wrap it around, it's going to stick to the outside. What you can't hear me talking about is how sticky that was. So do like this right here, and then do it. The glue stick's going to dry really quickly, so make sure that you don't go too far like I did, because I ended up having to restick some of it multiple times when I used the glue stick. But yeah, so then you just roll it, make sure you're rolling it really tight as you go around, and you're just going to do that until you get to the end. I didn't put it later on as I made these. I ended up going back and doing more glue, as you can see I just did there. So I did it in little like 1 or 2 inch bits and did it around so it stuck better. And then at the end made sure I used quite a bit to get that end to lay flat. It actually helps if you put a piece of scratch paper down on your countertop and you do it on there. So that way you don't get it all over your countertop and it's a little bit less of a sticky mess. So trying to get that little end piece to stick was a little difficult on this one. Fingers are all sticky. All right, so that's on there, and then you pull it off and you've got your bead. And then that's how you do it with the glue stick. So here's the difference between the two different ways they were cut. They also went in opposite directions, so that's why your colors are a little different there. But as you can see with the tapered one, which is the one on, well, the left side, if you're looking at the screen, it's got all the colors more even on there. So there you go. Okay, so as you can see here, I've taken a piece out of that catalog. I removed the staples to make sure I didn't tear the paper up and everything else. So the one bonus of this is that you've got even longer sheets if you do it this way. That's what I'm explaining here, is that you can get them to be a little bit thicker because they're going to be a little bit longer. With the other one, you have to double it up more. And for this particular paper, you're going to want to be sure that you do quite a bit more because it's quite a bit thinner than your printer paper is. So what you can see me doing here is I'm cutting a strip going the longest way possible on here. And this paper cuts so easily, I'm not even having to move the scissors as I go. And so then I'm explaining here about how if you're wanting to do something smaller, you can use a smaller thing. Like that was a crochet needle, you can use knitting needle, you can use toothpicks or anything like that. So if you're wanting to use like thread and do a thinner string, you want to make smaller beads, that's what you would use. But I'm just sticking with the pencil because it's just easier to show you guys to demonstrate. And so as you can see here, using my scratch paper and putting a little bit of glue down and then rolling it tight. And the bonus of using the glue stick, or any of them really, is if for some reason it's not quite lining up how you want, just gently undo it and you can roll it back up. You'll see me do that a few times. And then put more glue on it. And then roll it up a bit more. again, I really don't know what I was talking about here. So you're going to roll this up good. Now, if you're wanting to make it even thicker, like for your cruciform or inventory beads, I would cut another strip of paper. And this goes for any of the paper that you're using. And I'll show you later how you can do that to make sure it's pretty even. So here's me just rolling more stuff up. Let's see if we can speed this up. Okay, so basically just remember you're going to need 4 cruciform beads. So they need to be a little bit thicker than your other ones. You need 1 inventory bead, which can be the same as your cruciform beads, or it can be a little different. It's totally up to you. And then you need 28 of the smaller ones total. So just keep that in mind as you're using your paper, that you'll need to make sure you can cut enough for all of them. So this is me adding another strip to, I'm going to do this one with 2 strips here, I think. Just to kind of show you the difference in the thickness levels. And so you can kind of get an idea of the widths and how wide you cut them, how that varies, the size, and also how thick you want to do them. If I can stop talking with my hands long enough to show you guys. So here you go. You can see the thickness difference between using 2 sheets and 1 sheet, as well as the width I cut them as well. So there's that. Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to use either the Elmer's or the Mod Podge. So you're going to need a paintbrush. You just want a thinner one. You don't really need a wide one for this because your strips aren't very wide. The wider the brush, the bigger the mess. You're going to want something to put your glue on. So I'm just using a piece of plastic packaging from another thing of glue I had. And I'm just going to put the glue in that, so that way it's not making a huge mess everywhere and it's just easier to pick up with the brush. So you put some glue in there. And then you're going to also want some water, because between rolls, you're going to want to put your brush in there if you're using Mod Podge, because the Mod Podge dries pretty quickly and you will ruin your paintbrush if it dries on there. There's no getting it off. The Elmer's glue, it'll wash off, but with the Mod Podge, it will not. I think I was mentioning about how I tried using Mod Podge in bed one time when I was younger and spilled it all over and ruined my sheets because it doesn't wash out. So Elmer's glue will wash out, Mod Podge will not once it's dry. So keep that in mind. And then here I am, I'm making this one with 2 strips. So I'm wanting to make sure that they're pretty close to the same width where they're joining, because if not, your bead is going to look a little wonky. So I'm trimming and adjusting to get them to be about the same width. Match the taper as much as possible. You can also do this by joining them with tape. You'll see me do that later on. And then continuing the strip from there. But yeah, so I'm actually pre-wrapping this quite a bit. So then that way it's a little bit easier once I get to the glue point. The way it's already sort of got the shape. You can do it that way, or you can glue and wrap as you go. It's totally up to you. And you don't have to pick just one type of glue. I end up actually using the glue stick and then sealing it with Mod Podge for mine. It just made it a lot faster, a little bit easier. For some of them, I was doing the painting on the Mod Podge the whole way through, like you're about to see me do with the Elmer's glue, but it was just taking so much time and I wanted to go to bed. So I used a glue stick instead. So using the scratch paper again to keep your mess off the table, you're going to paint that down and then you're going to wrap it. Now on this one, as you can see, I didn't do it the whole way through because you don't want it to necessarily stick to the pencil. Makes it a little hard to get it off. And the other thing to remember is if you're going to coat them in Mod Podge or Elmer's glue, if you use water-based markers, they could smear. So my fingers are actually still multicolored from the red and the blue inks that smeared off. And you'll notice I'll be wiping the brush off on the white paper and it'll have color on it. So if you don't do too much, it's not going to be as much. And if you do it in thinner layers, it's not going to be as much of a problem. Once you get that first layer on there, it's less of an issue. But you can see there where that color got picked up on the brush. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to that. If you've got some white areas and you don't want them to have color, I recommend doing them sort of separately. Doing the color first and then letting that dry and then going back over it, the whole thing again. That way that color's sealed in and you're not smearing it on the white. On my beads that kind of smeared, but it's okay. It adds to the effect. So here I am sealing in those edges with that Elmer's glue to make it a little bit more durable. So I'm just kind of pushing the glue into the paper on the edges of the bead. And then you want to let it dry a little bit before you take it off, or else it's going to stick to your fingers and it's going to smear. You can set it down like I did here. There's a very real possibility that it's going to stick to the paper or the table. But more than likely, your best bet is to set it over a cup or use something as a stand to put the pencil in so it can just kind of air dry. I ended up doing multiple ones on there at a time, about 4 or 5 actually, then let it dry and then go on. And so actually, as you can see here, this is my piece of wrapping paper, and it's a nice wrapping paper, so it's pretty thick. And then with that texture of the glitter, this one actually is a little bit more difficult to get to stick together. I originally used a glue stick, and then for a second batch, I ended up using Mod Podge. The Mod Podge one holds up a lot better. This is the one with the Mod Podge here. It holds up quite a bit better because it's just stronger than the glue stick, especially with this thicker textured paper. So as you can see here, I'm just doing it on the same pencil just to kind of show you. So I'm going to roll it up a bit, and then I'm going to put some of that glue on, the Mod Podge on there, and keep rolling. Oh, it looks like I'm pre-rolling this one a little bit, which works because, you know, you're able to do it a little bit quicker. Put a little bit of Mod Podge on there, and you don't want to do it too thin, but you don't want to do it too thick. So just kind of brush it on there in a nice thin layer. Don't go too far down because, again, it dries quickly. So you're going to want to do it in little bits, just like you did with the glue stick. So do a couple inches, roll it up, and put it towards the center of your strip, because when you get it towards the edges, as you roll it, it's going to squeeze out, and you don't want to accidentally glue your bead to your pencil or whatever you're wrapping it around. That's not fun at all. So don't glob it on, and put it towards the center so that way when it does, it will squeeze out on its own a little bit, and it just go towards the edges, but it won't seep out as much. So yeah, as you do that, you're just going to keep going. And as you can see, this was a longer strip, so it's going to be a little bit thicker than some of the other strips I've done. And you're not having to layer 2 strips together either. So let's skip ahead and see what it looked like. Okay, so we're near the end of it here. As you can see, I'm putting a little bit thicker on, and you're going to finish rolling that up because we are on the top layer, and so it's going to be okay. So then once we get that on there, you're going to want to take and coat the outside of it with some more Mod Podge. That's going to help seal it in, help it lay flat, because that little end piece may not want to lay flat. So I'm just painting the Mod Podge onto the paper so that it kind of creates a seal. I really should have held this differently so you could see what I'm doing better, but sorry. Just be careful not to get it on your pencil or whatever it is that you're wrapping the paper around, because again, it is really hard to get off of there if you accidentally glue it to your stick. All right, now we got a nice good layer on there. We're putting a brush back in the water so then that way it doesn't dry out on us. And there you go. And you can see that will dry clear. The Mod Podge is going to be a little bit thicker and a little bit more sturdy and strong than the glue, but they'll both seal it in pretty well. Okay, so as you can see, these are the different kinds of beads we use. This one I use with the washi tape. There we go. See, that one was the washi tape. This was colored paper. This one was that sparkly wrapping paper, made two. This one was with the Mod Podge, see how it's stiff, and this one was just with a glue stick. So that's the difference between those. These were made with, oops, that does come undone. These were made with the catalog, different sizes. And then this one I sealed with Scotch tape. Again, like I said, tear off a smaller piece if I did. I was in a hurry. And then this one was just done with the glue stick. So the downside to that is that you can see right here where it's starting to peel. If you have multiple types of glue like I do, the ideal way is to use the glue stick and then to seal it with Mod Podge or Elmer's and a paintbrush. But you don't have to do that. Mine's just going to be pretty durable and hold up for quite a while. So that's why I did that. But yeah, so moving on to how to make this. Okay, so for this next part, what you're going to want to do is you're going to take some of your paper that you've got left over, and we're going to want to cut that down. You're going to cut it about 1 inch wide. You are going to want to taper it down to half of whatever the width that you originally did was. So you can do it a little bit wider, but you're going to need a longer piece of paper, and you can do it thinner if you choose. Just whatever your width is, you're going to taper it down to half that. So I'm going to do 1 inch and taper it down to 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be exact, but approximate. So you're going to cut it through, and the color that you want, or the part you want to be your main part of your cross, is the part that you want to be the widest part, because that's going to be the part that's going to be there. So as you can see here, I'm laying it out on my board, which is those lines are measuring, and it goes from 1 inch to about 1/2 inch. So then what we're going to do is we're going to fold that in half, because it's going to make it sturdier and it's going to make it double-sided. So you have color on both sides of it. So just fold it in half. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you want to trim it to where it's more even, feel free. I think I might do that here in a minute, but you're going to fold it in half. Now, the next part is going to be optional. I went ahead and used a glue stick just because it makes it easier as you're folding it later on. If you use one of the other glues, you just have to let it dry a little bit. The Mod Podge will make it a little stiffer and harder to fold. So glue stick is ideal. You can use some tape to close it up, or you can just not. Totally up to you. There's no wrong way to do this. So we're going to fold it back in half, let that glue stick to itself. All right. So we're going to fold this just like you would a cross for Palm Sunday out of the palm leaves. So what we're going to do is you're going to want to go about, you want to leave about 2 to 3 inches, depending on how big you want to do it. I ended up doing, I think, 2.5 inches. And you're going to want to fold that down straight on top of the other piece and make that a good crease. Then you're going to want to go back up 2/3 and fold it over to the side to make it, perpendicular. Then I did it about 1/2 inch, I think, out. So as you can see there, the folds. So then you want to go about 1/2 inch out and flip it over, and about 1/2 inch out, you're going to fold it back over itself straight. So you're going to make your cross line. And then you're going to want to go about the same distance on the other side. So we're going to flip it over again. And then we're going to, about the same distance out, fold it straight back in. So as you can see, I'm starting to make a cross shape. But in order to get that to hold together, what we're going to have to do now is we're going to lay it back down. It's just easier to do it when it's on the table. And you're going to fold your tail to where it's going between the two pieces. So it's at about a 45-degree angle between them, like so. Then you're going to fold that across the front of the cross. And it's going to go a diagonal. And then once you get to the back side, you're going to run it along that bottom line so that you can bring it up from the bottom across the opposite direction, across the front. So you're making an X over that cross, like so. And then you're going to take that tail on the back side and you're going to tuck it under that crossbar that went along the bottom of that there. This is where that glue comes in handy because I tried to stick it into the fold and it wouldn't go through, obviously. So you finally get it in there, you tuck it under, and you're good to go. I ended up sealing mine with Mod Podge just to make it sturdier and last longer. You can seal it with some clear tape, with some Elmer's glue, or you can leave it as it is. It's up to you. Then we're going to move on to the assembly. Okay, so after you've made your cross, and you've chosen to support it or seal it in your choice, or not, it's up to you. Mine I coated with some Mod Podge to make it a little bit firmer, and to give a little bit more steadiness. So I'm actually going to be using yarn for my string. And what you're going to do is you're going to string it through. You're going to take your cross, and you're going to push that open right there. So you can see that. Right there. And you put your string through there, so it makes its own little holder. And then I tied the double knot here, just to give it a little more hold. And you're going to tie that in the center of your string, so that you should have it like so. Okay? So you can technically make a necklace like that now if you wanted. So that's what we're going to do there. Then we're going to need all of our beads. So as you can see, I've got all of my beads. I sealed mine with Mod Podge so they last a little bit longer, but you do you. Okay, so you're going to need first your inventory bead. And as you can see, mine are all a little bit different in size. So this is the week, this is the cruciform, and this is the inventory. So first one you need is your inventory bead. Now, in order to make this a little bit easier to string stuff on with, I recommend getting a little piece of tape and putting it on the ends and folding it over to sort of make a little bit firmer way to string these on. So, I'm just going to make sure it fits through the middle bead. So, you've got this. You're going to put both strings through your inventory bead. There's one. Trim that guy. He's a little too thick with like 5 seams. Just kidding. So you're going to put it through there, and part of the reason we put that knot there is so then that way that bead sits there. It's not going to, it might slide over. That's okay. It kind of just gives you an idea there. So then you can put another knot in if you want, or you can leave it as it is. I'm going to go and put one in just because it's going to make it less likely to tear the beads up once you start stringing the others on. It's okay because mine's probably going to be hidden underneath the next bead, but it's mostly just there to add some stability and shape to the necklace. So, look, a little single knot there. Okay? So then you're going to need one of your cruciform beads. And you're going to do the same way you did with the inventory bead. You're going to put both pieces of string through it, both ends. So it's going to be like this. So it's making a single string right now, like so, and you've got your 2 ends. Then you're going to string on 7 of your weak beads on each string separately. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So there is 7. Make sure I counted that right. Maybe do that on the other side too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now it should look kind of like this, with your 7 beads and your cruciform in your inventory. Then you're going to put a crucifix or cruciform bead on each string, like so. Boom. Ta-da! And then 7 more of the leaves on each one. Something with the buttons so they don't come off. That would kind of defeat the purpose. So put these guys on. Alright, put those on. Now you should have 1 cruciform bead left. And you should have it where it looks like this. So it's going to make sort of like a Y, like so. Then, for this one, this is where it gets a little trickier. You're going to put 1 string through one side, and then you're going to put the other one going the opposite direction, like so. And then you're going to want to take your tape off. If you use tape, it just makes it go a little faster. You don't have to do this option. Take that off. And then what you're going to do is tie knots. So best way to do this is to make like a number 4, put it through the loop, and tie it. You do that twice on each side of your string. Nice and tied up. And then you just trim off your excess with some scissors, like so. Tuck those in, and you're all set. And there you go. Those are your Anglican Prayer Beads. You've got your cross and all your beads. Not too bad considering it was just a pile of paper earlier. Okay, so now that you guys have put together your prayer beads, I'm going to show you guys how we use them. There's no wrong way to pray, and there's no wrong way in how to use these. This is just a common way that they're used. I'm going to put a link or 2 down below for you guys to go to look up some of the other prayers that are available, and so you can kind of see different ways to do this. You can put the prayers together in different forms. You can cut and paste them. You can do whatever you want. It's totally up to you. Prayer is your conversation with God. So, there's no wrong way. The one that I'm going to show you guys now is called A Celtic Prayer by Sister Bridget Carroll. I really like it because it uses a lot of things that we've used before that you guys might be familiar with. So, you start with your cross, and then you go to the inventory, the cruciform, And then you work your way to the right around, going through the weeks and the other cruciforms until you get back to the start. So, there we go. In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. O God, make speed to save me. O Lord, make haste to help me. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. Be the eye of God dwelling with me, the foot of Christ in guidance with me, the shower of the Spirit pouring on me, richly and generously. I bow before the Father who made me. I bow before the Son who saved me. I bow before the Spirit who guides me. In love and adoration, I praise the name of the one on high. I bow before thee, sacred three, the ever one, the Trinity. Be the eye of God dwelling with me, the foot of Christ in guidance with me, the shower of the Spirit pouring on me, richly and generously. I bow before the Father who made me. I bow before the Son who saved me. I bow before the Spirit who guides me in love and adoration. I praise the name of the one on high. I bow before the sacred three, the ever one, the Trinity. Be the eye of God dwelling with me, the foot of Christ in guidance with me, the shower of the Spirit pouring on me, richly and generously. I bow before the Father who made me. I bow before the Son who saved me. I bow before the Spirit who guides me in love and adoration. I praise the name of the one on high. I bow before the sacred three, the ever one, the Trinity. Be the eye of God dwelling with me, the foot of Christ in guidance with me, the shower of the Spirit pouring on me, richly and generously. I bow before the Father who made me. I bow before the Son who saved me. I bow before the Spirit who guides me in love and adoration. I praise the name of the one on high. I bow before the sacred three, the ever one, the Trinity. Be the eye of God dwelling with me, the foot of Christ in guidance with me, the shower of the Spirit pouring on me, richly and generously. O God, make speed to save me. O Lord, make haste to help me. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. And that's one of the rosary prayers, or Anglican Prayer Beads. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys find it helpful and useful for you, especially in this difficult time. Hope everybody's staying home, staying safe, and I hope you're all in good spirits. Feel free to join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays for Compline. You can find the links for that on WEMOyouth.com. Feel free to subscribe to our channel. This is a new thing. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any ideas or suggestions for future crafts, because it'd be really cool if we can make this a thing, figuring out ways to craft together from home. So yeah, any suggestions, ideas, or hey, I want to make this, help me find a way to make it with stuff from around the house. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. You can leave comments down below, or you can send us a message send me a message at Wemoyouthsouth at dialwestmo.org. Think for a second. But yeah, so it was good to talk to you guys, and hope to see you guys on Tuesdays and Thursdays for Compline. Bye!